Welcome to 365 TV and thank you for joining us again. Today we are speaking to Adam White, 365 CTO, and our subject matter is secure remote connectivity. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Cool, thanks for having me again, Tyrone.
Great, man. Great to have you. Adam, what is secure remote connectivity and what is meant by this term?
Well, I think these definitions are changing quite rapidly. Traditionally, secure remote connectivity would be accessing company resources from a remote location, usually via some kind of VPN mechanism.
So that is the VPN mechanism, secure VPN?
So yeah, traditionally, you'd have a secure VPN, you'd usually have some kind of VPN client that uses encryption software or encryption algorithms to dial into your network and then put you virtually on your local area network to get your applications.
So the company has a secure VPN. Is this enough?
Well, it depends what we mean by enough. It's certainly enough in terms of can you access your data and would you be able to. In terms of security, VPNs, the algorithms they use are secure. That's pretty standard. But you wouldn't have visibility of where your data is going, what it's doing on the endpoint. And in that terms, it's definitely not enough, and it's definitely, in today's terms, not agile enough.
Adam, what do you mean by agile for a secure VPN? What do you mean by agile?
So, in today's terms, you traditionally you would have remote access VPNs used by support engineers or by those kinds of workforce. But now, with everyone working from home or most workforce working from home, you're having all of your user base accessing the VPN, and this creates two kind of issues. The first is the bottleneck issue. So your head office traditionally has some kind of pipe or bandwidth that's a certain size, and your home users have a much smaller pipe, but there's a lot more of them, and you'll have quite a high contention ratio for your users trying to access this data, and the user experience drops dramatically. They're used to LAN speeds, they're used to 1 gig speeds, and they're just not going to get that. So you do have these kinds of issues. You also have these users are not sometimes that technical, and now they're having to have an additional layer of software in order to access resources that just traditionally worked. So you have a lot of support, additional overhead, engineering overhead, user experience drops. The second issue is kind of related to that, and that would be the kind of the agility. How fast can you publish applications? How easily is it accessible? And this is why the adoption to cloud, it's just another reason why cloud adoption is starting to rocket again. Just put it in the cloud. You don't have to worry about these contention ratios. You don't have to worry about availability or VPN. You do introduce some security risks there or concerns, but the VPN is starting to fall away a little bit, and we're starting to see a lot higher cloud adoption because of this.
Okay, so as you say, this is driving cloud adoption. So removing the enterprise applications into a cloud environment.
Yeah.
So now you have the remote working. Talking to the cloud, surely this must affect my security when all my applications are in the cloud?
Absolutely.
My security posture.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the word cloud sometimes is still a little bit misunderstood. You're just storing it in another server somewhere else. You're making it somebody else's problem. But there are some security concerns around that, like who has access to that data? If you delete it, is it really deleted? Where is it available? Where is your data moving to? Some kind of permissions. You don't control everything around that. But the same kind of security concerns that you should have been having before just kind of get moved and are slightly adopted to the cloud. And the benefits probably outweigh the cons as long as you're cognizant of those kind of security concerns.
Especially with the massive drive to remote workforce.
Absolutely. If you and there's licensing costs as well for the remote workforce. There's usually VPN kind of cost licensing. There's a performance overhead. There's user experience, and those kind of cost factors also. If it's taking you 10 minutes to do something that used to take you 2 minutes, those cost factors need to be put in as well. Whereas cloud, it's someone else's problem. You can probably do it as an OpEx-based cost, which makes it a little bit easier for you to do. And it's just a kind of an easier adoption model for you to just allow your company workforce to work. And I'm not saying that VPNs are completely dead. There will always be a place for them, or secure VPNs. But I think their place is starting to decline while cloud adoption is increasing.
All right. Could you not run a secure VPN into your cloud environment and then connect to your servers?
You absolutely could do that, and that's when you're spinning up secure virtual firewalls in the cloud environment. Although you're kind of just moving the problem halfway. So what we're finding is that for application protection, You want to start doing protect the application and just accept the fact that it's going to be accessed from anywhere. So you stop caring about who's accessing it, or you stop caring about where it's been accessed from, and you adopt a zero trust kind of model, which is quite popular at the moment, that you don't trust anywhere. You don't trust if it's in the LAN, if you from home. There's no trust model, and all you care about is, am I securing the application, and am I securing the user accessing it? So the source and the destination, and you don't care about the transmission between.
Interesting. But I do still personally see a role for secure VPN.
Yep.
And there are terms SSL, L2TP, or IPsec. These are all technologies that are used in a secure VPN.
Yep.
Can you explain the differences, pros and cons, if possible?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, there's some additional on top of that create some kind of virtual private network, but those are used together. And L2TP is generally, well, it's not secure. It doesn't have any kind of encryption algorithm, and it's usually used with IPsec to make a secure mechanism. IPsec and SSL they use the same kind of algorithms, so they're about as secure as each other as long as the implementation is secure. And usually the weakness is the actual authentication mechanism, so the username and password, or how do you validate who you are, who you say you are. So that's kind of the weakness that is involved. So between IPsec and SSL, there's some implementation differences and some complexities around that, but it's more around what you can, what your devices support, what your users support, your licensing model, and the implementation between whether you pick SSL or IPsec. SSL does have the advantage that you can sometimes run clientless. You don't need to have a specific client to run. And you would have noticed that if you have an SSL connection every time you connect to a secure website, your banking website, something like that. So there are some advantages to SSL, but in terms of pros and cons, it's really down to the implementation and use case.
Cool, thanks, Adam. Is a remote access VPN the only option for me to access my company's applications?
No, absolutely not. So I mean, we did talk a little bit about cloud adoption, but you could publish your applications even without having a cloud strategy and publish them directly from your LAN, or where you typically put in a secure kind of part of your LAN called a DMZ, and you would publish them through some kind of secure mechanism, and typically you would do this through like a reverse proxy or something called a web application firewall that is a little bit more advanced, and definitely recommended for any kind of application that you're publishing, whether it's in the cloud or on your LAN. And you would publish it through this web application firewall and allow users to connect and access the application as if it was a cloud-based application.
Okay, so company data is a critical resource, a critical element of any company's business. How do I protect my company's data whilst everyone works remotely?
Yeah, that's a pretty tough question, especially since a lot of this workforce is, using their own devices now at home, and you don't really have much control over that, which brings the whole BYOD thing back again in a bit more of a new way, because it is completely remote now. There's no access medium from the corporate side. But there's a few ways to handle it, and firstly you need some kind of policies and procedures that outline and guide and give user awareness and training and create an expectation of what you should and shouldn't do with company data and what is allowed. And with that, you would then need to enforce it with tools and mechanisms and security products. And some of these security products are quite advanced. You can use some endpoint products to kind of secure the laptop and secure the endpoint. And then you can use some kind of advanced products like some behavioral analytics or machine learning products that can actually predict or dictate or see trend what the users are doing, and see what is normal and what deviates from their behavior, and even what might be something on the machine that the user is unaware of that is moving data around that it shouldn't be doing. Now these tools can be deployed either in the cloud, on-prem, on each endpoint device, or a hybrid thereof, and it requires some kind of agreement or synergistic relationship between the corporate and the employees to be able to work together to secure the data. Thanks,
Adam. Adam, you mentioned BYOD, bring your own device. Now, this topic dates back from a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Did you share your insights on that a bit? Where it was, where it came from, what was done in the enterprise, and just once again run over how it now relates to the current remote working with everybody often using their own devices. So
I think the explosion came with the whole explosion, with the whole Apple thing. Everyone started bringing iPads and tablets, and IT's response or security's response was, you can bring it, but we're just going to put you on your own network and you can't touch anything. And obviously there's no agility there. There's no there's no symbiotic relationship, and it's just not productive. And we started having to address this in a little bit more flexible manner. And these again are dictated by security policies, which instead of dictating what the device, what the company was going to enforce on the device, the company said you need to comply with this in order to access certain amount of things. And this was addressed by products like NAC, Network Access Control, where you had your compliance standard, you must have an AV, you must be patched to a certain point, and regardless of what AV you used, you just needed to comply with a slightly more looser policy without compromising on security posture. Now, that's worked quite well. The adoption rate is still been quite slow. But I think that's due to quite a lot of complexity in the product, and it's, security is still a grudge purchase in some points, and it's easier just to either allow these things or to segregate them completely. But the whole BYOD thing again is just been compounded by the whole COVID, and people are working from home. You don't really have, you feel like you don't have control anymore. You don't have control of the wireless. You don't have control of the internet connection, and I think a lot of security or IT managers need to realize that control is not needed. You don't need to control the access medium anymore. You just need to make sure that your data is secure, where it's going is secure, and the endpoint complies in some way to your security policies. And like I said, there's very verbal ways to do that. But I think the access medium control is kind of dead. And we just need to have the zero trust framework that I was talking about a bit earlier. And just have kind of an open synergistic relationship that's with your employees.
Thanks, Adam. That's a great point to end on. Thanks for your time and much appreciated.
Cool, thanks very much.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of 365 TV, and we'll see you all again soon. Take care, be safe, and stay healthy.